Doom Eternal is just what the Doctor ordered, a massive chunk of escapist fun that lets you take out the frustrations of modern day life in the most cathartic way possible. Self-isolation is more fun with demon immolation. As the marketing promises, you'll rip and you'll tear, but you'll do more than that. You blast, and you pluck, and you slice, and you saw, and you dice, and you detonate, and you crush, and you grapple, and you thump. And honestly, by the time the end credits rolled, I felt like this guy, only weeping with joy instead of, lava. Everything in Doom Eternal is big, from landscapes that look like metal album covers come to life, to an arsenal that starts with a shotgun and only gets louder. By the end, you're wielding a sword forged in hellfire that chops just about any enemy down to size. Even the mission complete screen sounds like someone punching you in the head. I love how fully Doom Eternal understands itself and plays into that. It's the kind of game my mum would call an awful racket and tell me to turn the volume down, which is exactly what it should be. I've had an incredible 20 or so hours with it and will break down why, from lethally tuned combat to slow motion wonders to this amazing headshot. I'm also arguing with my team about the best weapon. I love slow-mo sticky bombs, but others go nuts for the Super Shotgun's meat hook. Settle this in the comments. Which gun gets you salivating the most? Oh, and do subscribe, because people who do get a private fireworks show from the Revenant, and people who don't can deal with this mean bastard. Moving swiftly on. Doom Eternal's best trick is making you dependent on the demons you hate the most. As in Doom 2016, if you whittle enemies down, they stagger, letting you regain health with a glory kill. It was tasty then and remains delicious now, both to showcase the hilarious execution animations, hello demonetized YouTube videos, and to keep you close to the action. But Eternal puts bigger emphasis on squeezing resources from the undead. Setting them ablaze with a flame belch makes armor shards pop like popcorn. Landing 2 glory kills charges a blood punch to detonate a crowd. The chainsaw sprays ammo from the body, turning smaller devils into moving ammo crates. Yes, the sword did this in 2016 too, but here it's constantly in play. It recharges fuel by itself, there's more to be found on the ground, and max ammo on the weapons is tiny compared to before, so you will run out and need to go looking for flesh to chop up. As a result, Doom Eternal comes at you much harder than before, whether it's enemy numbers or the length of encounters, and there are some brutally long fights in here. You always find pickups running thin, and your reliance on enemies growing. At first I found the ammo count stingy as my precious sticky bombs ran dry too quickly, but soon it begins to click. You're meant to use every weapon you have. So many shooters struggle to tempt you away from favourite or overpowered guns, but it have you switching with ease. Dipping into the dustier parts of the weapon wheel deepens your appreciation of each gun's role, specifically in relationship to demon types. Think of certain guns as shortcuts. Yes, you can pepper a fiend with lead until they stagger, but most have an Achilles heel, or an Achilles gob in the case of the Cacodemon. Shoving a grenade in his mouth gives the glorified space hopper explosive heartburn, and Rennies won't be curing that. And I love blasting energy shields with plasma rifles until they explode. It's good revenge for shields being so tiresome in Doom 2016. Or you have the Revenant, who is half skeleton, half funfair shooting gallery as you pick off the cannons with a precision bolt. Speaking of which, the best kill in the game belongs to these angelic drones. One sniper bullet to the head pops them like a piñata, spraying health, ammo, the works. I mean, look at that. This has to be one of my favourite headshots of all time. I also love the Dance of Death with Marauders, all but untouchable unless you counter their dash with a shotgun to the face. These fights feel more like dueling than anything else in the game. It's remarkable how many different tones of action are contained within. It helps that Doom Eternal has an iconic villains gallery. I mean, how many other games has a cast of enemies you can name the moment they turn up, or curse out the moment they turn up, as is the case with the Archvile, who now summons supercharged enemies that remain extra dangerous until you kill their teleporting master. I'm not gonna lie, he's a total motherfucker, and I hate his guts, but all this combines to effect where you enter any given room and can instantly get a read on who's in there, who's dangerous, and who you should target first. I struggle to think of another shooter where you have such command of the situation. Drip feeding you enemies throughout is indicative of Doom Eternal as a whole, and how it works hard not to repeat itself. For starters, there's a lot of platforming in the mix, with aerial dashes, wall climbing and swing bars giving level designers huge scale to play with as you leap around crumbling masonry or fire out of portals that make you think you're accidentally invaded a Halo game. The Slayer would eat the Master Chief for breakfast, of course. Normally, first-person platforming gives me the cold sweats, but the aerial dash offers wiggle room and steering help, and results in some of my favourite FPS bounding since Metroid Prime, even if Doom Eternal does often resemble Samus's Nintendo pal Mario in its hilariously video gamey fields of rotating fireballs. Getting to grips with acrobatics is also key to sniffing out hidden toys or one-ups or cheat codes. Generally speaking, secrets are less obscure than before, but you definitely get a good jumping workout. I'm equally impressed at combat variations. You'll get locked in close with something horrible and then let off the leash where jump pads fling you over entire neighbourhoods. 1 second you're hunting down magic totems which put enemies into a lethal rage, smashing it to dispel the magic. The next you're hitting massive buttons to turn enemies into paste. There are teleporting portals, sticky purple floors that hold you in place, radioactive pools that burn you away. It really feels like you never play the same 5 minutes twice. Where Doom 2016 often felt like a great combat system embedded in a so-so exploration game, Eternal is a more complete game feeding a constant appetite for more. This is meaningless if it doesn't feel good to play, but when have id ever let us down on that front? Every gun has the heft you'd expect, but they now thud into destructible demon flesh, which better sells the damage you're doing than it did in Doom 2016. The way enemies absorb shots back then made it feel like you were firing abstract energy. Here there is no doubt that you're churning the damned into mulch. Batter a Baron of Hell and it feels like you're firing a minigun into a cylinder of Donna meat. Again, goodbye YouTube monetization. And I love the playful firing modes. Swapping the shotgun's explosive shot for a sticky mine is an inspired move, as planting one on an Arachnotron's gun turret or enemy face gives a tiny dose of smugness at what happens next. And the rocket launcher's remote detonation mod gets a flare upgrade, giving a visual cue at the exact moment to detonate. A further upgrade adds even more explosions if you time it just right. And do I need to explain the magic of the plasma rifle's microwave beam? If that leaves you cold, you probably need a bit of the old microwave beam on yourself. The end result is one of the few games you actually get excited for weapon upgrades and are torn over where to invest weapon points. On one hand, I want to dissect the Legions of the Dead with a bow. On the other hand, who can say no to a meat hook that sets the target on fire? It's basically a barbecue that you can pull your mouth towards. It's my dream invention. Speaking of upgrades, runes are now more accessible. You just find them along the main story path instead of completing combat challenges. I do miss 2016's arcade time trials. They're replaced with secret encounters that give you a few seconds to clear a rune, but rune challenges were more creative. Runes have great combo potential, whether it's equipping ones to lengthen stagger and your glory kill range, or supercharging blood punch and speeding equipment cooldown if you like playing with the extra gizmos. For my money, it's all about the chrono strike, which slows time when you aim secondary fire in the air, letting you plant sticky mines or snipe enemies with a precision bolt. All it takes is a double jump to get enough height, although most arenas come with jump pads, clearly placed to give glorious slow-mo shots of the battlefield. Chrono strike also works when you fire the meat hook, giving you the time to take in the gormless face you're about to explode into a million pieces. And although chrono strike has a limited timer before it needs to recharge, it's long enough to continue slow motion when you hit the ground, leading to amazing scenes where you activate the chain gun's mobile turret and unleash the best evisceration since Rambo gibbed everyone at the end of the Rambo remake. I wish they'd add a proper slow-mo cheat, as these 4-second bursts just aren't enough, but they are enough for one of Rock Paper Shotgun's trademark ultra-violent slow-mo montages. I call this one Ode to Limited YouTube Ads. The sheer pleasure of chewing up enemies also raises another cool thing about Doom Eternal. It really does play like different games on different difficulties. When we played it at preview stage, producer Marty Stratton recommended starting on Nightmare and only dropping difficulty if it genuinely proved too much. The idea being that you'd eventually hit the exhilarating sweet spot where you are near death and having to rely on every one of those combat systems, the health, the shields, the ammo, the weak spots, the gadgets, to scrape a victory. For my money, this is the place where Doom Eternal sings, where you leave fights breathless and have to put down the pad, amazed that you made it through. But raising that clutch pedal to the biting point will be different for different people. That you can change the difficulty on the fly with no reloading or progression punishment is a great move. If you get stuck on a total asshole of a fight, again looking at you Archvile, you can dip the challenge before it stops being fun and maybe raise it again later, or you can drop the whole thing to easy and just use the chain gun to mulch even the biggest baddies. It's not how I'd played Doom Eternal the first time, but I kinda love that the option is there. It even offers you extra shields if you repeatedly die on the same fight. It's like id have built this huge action experience and are desperate for everyone to see the spectacular end of it. It can be as hardcore as you like, but without a drop of gatekeeping. I think it's how all action difficulty should be done. And I understand why they'd want people to reach the end. The journey this time is much more colourful than 2016's Mars Research Facility. There are individual levels here that feel like they take you through more environments than that entire game did, with a range of themes and styles that feed that constant reinvention mentioned earlier. The hellish debris of invaded Earth has a different vibe to the ancient homeworlds of long-lost civilizations, or a return visit to Mars, which brings with it possibly the greatest mission objective of all time. Okay, a lot of these locations are just an excuse to connect monster arenas with corridors, but the platforming in between escalates in fun ways, and I love how most of the story is told in the architecture, rather than interrupting cutscenes. For those that really want to delve into the lore, there are unlockable codex entries that expand on the mysteries of Doom 2016. It's not a side of the game that I connect with myself, but it is great to see the fan community indulged in such a non-invasive way. Compare it to Halo, which disappeared up its own lore hole a long time ago, and this feels vastly superior. By the end of Doom Eternal, about 17 hours or so, I felt like I'd had my proper fill and was reminded of how rare that is these days. Most shooter campaigns are 6-hour cinematic flim-flam, or well, you don't get many shooter campaigns these days. And the credits are by no means the end. As I say, there's definite reason to push into higher difficulties with your souped up weapons, or try tackling the whole thing in extra life mode, which removes checkpointing just like in the good old days. Or you can replay with cheats you find through the game, basically making it really easy with infinite berserk powers, handy if you are recording video review footage I must say, or making it much harder by removing enemy resource drops. More substantially, there are also master levels, which take campaign stages and flood them with insane enemy combinations, so you get tyrants casually chilling with a big gang of cyber mancubus where you'd normally expect to find a single revenant. These are due to be released over time, so there's only 2 in the game for now, and one of those is for pre-orders. I hope they make a lot more of these and include them for everyone. Don't we all deserve the right to have our asses handed to us by a giant robot bull? So yes, all in all, just what the doctor ordered. Okay, some of it leaves you out of breath, but in a good way. It's so refreshing to play a game with a firm grasp of what it wants to be, and to deliver on that in such a confident, polished manner. I've not talked tech in this video, but I hope the capture speaks for itself. The fact that we got a review code a week early speaks to its confidence in it. Trust me, most AAA games cower away in this day and age, and for good reason. Doom Eternal is a remarkable shooter, not just delivering fun and excitement, but putting you in a mindset few action games can. One where you're so embedded in its ideas and rhythms that when you watch it back, you kinda marvel at what you were able to do. I feel like I cheese my way through so many games these days, but Doom Eternal is as lactose intolerant as it is demon intolerant. It asks you play the game on its own terms, and if you choose to agree, it's about as good as action games get. So come on, if it's the end of the world, who better to spend it with? I hope you've enjoyed this Doom Eternal review. If you did, I'd love to get a thumbs up and for you to write something nice in the comments. Every little helps in these trying times. I'd obviously love it if you subscribe to Rock Paper Shotgun. We try to cover all the biggest PC releases and currently have some fun stuff on Baldur's Gate 3 and Ori and the Will of the Wisps, so do check those out. I really appreciate you watching as far as this, so here's a picture of my lovely cat chilling as a reward. Stay safe, thanks for watching, and hopefully see you again soon. Bye for now.